Good morning, Trinity Worship Church family. How are you? I hope that all is well. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're not, I hope the quarantine or the staying at home or the shelter in is not messing with you as much as it's messing with me. This thing is something else, y'all. Also, want to say hello to our internet family, our internet community, those of you that are joining us. I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. And here we just try to connect. We try to keep everybody together. I just try to give you something each and every week that would inspire you, but that would encourage us through this time that we're going through. Because y'all, again, as I say every week, this is a difficult time and a difficult season that we're going through. But nonetheless, our Father is still to be praised. He is still to get the glory. He is still to get all the honor. And again, y'all, we're gonna get through this thing. Of course, it's not moving as quickly as I would like to see it move, and I don't think it's moving as quickly as any of us would like to see it move. And as I said that, and as I share that, I'm gonna talk about something this morning that I think is gonna really bless us. That I think is gonna really speak to all of us, speak to all of our hearts, and it shows how how we struggle and how it's a little bit difficult to make us happy. You know what I mean? It's a struggle, and what I found myself doing and what I noticed myself doing, even doing this COVID-19 experience, I found myself, and I had to catch myself, but I found myself complaining. And that's what I want to speak to us very briefly about this morning, just about complaining, because complaining is something that we all struggle with. Israel did it. We do it today. We have people that we know, people that are in our circles, family, friends, people that we don't even want to be around sometimes because all they do is complain. And so I thought about this just this week, and like I said, y'all, I need somebody to come get me. I got too much time on my hand, and it's funny. I was reading Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Of course, y'all know about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and we all have read that story. When we were kids in elementary school, we all heard about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But it's funny, y'all, because like I said, I got too much time on my hand, and I was reading this old story, and had a different twist to it. And you know what I realized about Goldilocks? Goldilocks was a selfish, trespassing little complainer. Yes, that's what she was. I know that may offend some people because we love that story, but y'all know the story. She's walking through the woods or whatever, and she finds a house. Man, you didn't find a house. The house belonged to the bears. But then she goes into the house. That's breaking and entering. I done found a whole lot of houses, y'all. And I'm gonna tell you, if I go in one without permission or without a key, then I'm breaking and entering. That's trespassing, however you want to look at it. But nonetheless, let me get to the point. She gets into the house, and y'all know the story. She finds three bowls of porridge. And she goes to the first bowl of porridge, and I want y'all to say this with me because I know this is a trip. This is funny, but she goes to the first bowl of porridge, and she says, and she tastes the bowl of porridge, and she says, "This bowl is too hot." Then she goes to the next bowl of porridge, right, and then she tastes it, and she says, "Well, this bowl is too cold." And then finally, y'all, she goes to the last bowl of porridge, and she says, "This bowl is just right." And then she ate up all the porridge. Now here's the thing: how you gonna break in somebody else's house, partake of their possessions and goods, and then complain about it along the way? And it just shows me something that what she really was trying to do, y'all. She was trying to choose the middle of three choices. And that's how we are in a lot of ways. We try to choose the middle of three choices, or we wish we could choose the middle of three choices. When we're going through tribulation, tribulation can be too hot. When we're facing trials and adversity, that can be too cold. But when we're experiencing peace, bliss, everything is just the way we like it, just the way, we're like, well, this is just right. This is exactly how we want it. But it doesn't stay that way. My life, your life, is like a huge orchestral theme that's being played out. And guess what? God our Father he's the composer. And my life and your life is going to be filled with, there's going to be adventure, there's going to be beautiful melodies sometimes. And then sometimes, y'all, we're going to experience, these big crescendos of drama in our life. And then there are going to be other days where there's going to be a diminuendo where things are just, peaceful, they're settled, and they're exactly where we want them. But it doesn't stay that way. Life is full of ups and downs, and we would like to be able to choose, the one in the middle all the time, but it just doesn't work like that. And I found that when we are going through these ups and downs, sometimes we can find ourselves complaining. We can complain about what God is doing. We can complain about where God has us. And I think about Israel. And, it's funny that when God got ready to deliver them and bring them out of Egypt, that, deliverance has responsibility. Breakthrough has responsibility. When God delivers you, responsibility comes with that deliverance. When God allows you to experience a breakthrough, responsibility is with that breakthrough. And then when he delivered them, brought them out of Egypt, he had promised Abraham that he was going to make him into a great nation. He was going to do some great things through him because of his faith response to God to leave and to go to a place where God was showing. And, the people got out there and the people began to complain. And I noticed that when I complain or when anyone complains, there seems to be a progression, a natural progression to our complaining. And the first thing that happened, I'm going to give you this progression. There's only 3 steps or 3 things that happen when we really are complaining. And so if I'm going to be able to manage my complaining or stop complaining, if you're going to be able to manage your complaining or stop complaining, we need to understand this progression. And we see this progression in the book of Exodus. And I want you to get that and spend some time with it this week. But in Exodus chapter 16, we see now where Israel they begin to complain. And the first progression or the first thing that happens is that we become discontent. We're not happy with the current situation. We're not happy with where we're at. And they became discontented with Moses and Aaron. Number one, primarily because, they were hungry and they wanted something to eat. And they started thinking about when they were back in Egypt and they had all these fine foods to eat. And I find it interesting that they would rather be slaves and have the delicacies that they would enjoy in Egypt than to be liberated and be free and have the responsibility of now, coming up with, and finding bread. But nonetheless, God would provide for them. He would demonstrate and reveal that he was to be the bread of life. But they became discontent. They were not happy now with their freedom. They were not happy now with their liberation from Egypt. And the one thing that they can find to complain about was not having anything to eat. And God would demonstrate his faithfulness to them by every morning when they would wake up, he would allow manna to fall from heaven. And they were to go out, and he told Moses to tell them, he says, look, tell them to only go and get what they need. Don't go get too much. Don't get too little. But each family is to go out and get exactly what they need. And they were to do this on a daily basis. Now get this. They wake up every morning and they're experiencing a miracle of God providing manna for them, providing bread for them. How many of us wake up on a daily basis and we experience the miracle of our health, the miracle of our strength, the miracle of being in our right mind, the miracle of eyesight, the miracle of being able to speak? And yet we become discontented and we'll start to complain about things that we do not have while neglecting the things that we do have. And this is what they were doing. They were discontented. They had quickly forgotten everything that God had done for them. They quickly had forgotten the 10 plagues. They quickly forgotten how the Lord brought them across the Red Sea. Quickly forgotten. Thinking about things that they did not have rather than focusing on what they did have. And it became discontented. Started complaining. And then the second step, or the second progression is, after we become discontented, you know what we start doing? We start griping. We start to gripe. And that's exactly what they did. In fact, the scripture says, and when you read it in Exodus 16, the entire community began to murmur and utter complaints about Moses and about Aaron, and said that, it was better for us to stay in Egypt. At least we had food to eat there. But here they come out but you've brought us out here in the wilderness to die. This is what they said concerning Moses and Aaron. And they began to utter these complaints among the community. And when you start complaining around other people, guess what? Other people begin to follow suit. And the whole community began to complain against Moses and Aaron. And they forgot that it was the Lord who was leading them. It was the Lord who had brought them to this place. It was the Lord who was delivering them. And so ultimately, their complaint wasn't against Moses and Aaron, but their complaint was against God. And that was the problem. Because when you become discontent, you start to gripe, and you want other people to be a part of your complaining. You want other people to understand why you're complaining, and you want other people to join in with the complaint. And so they said, you know what? It's better we should have stayed in Egypt. In other words, Lord, you should have let us be. You should have left us where we were. And they the ones forgot that it was their outcry in the first place that God said, I've come down to deliver Israel out of Egypt. It was their own outcry, their own prayer, that God will begin to move on their behalf. And then as God will begin to move, they didn't like how the deliverance was taking place. They didn't like when certain things would overtake them. And they find themselves complaining. Sounds familiar? We all do that, y'all. We all go through that. We all will pray and we'll ask God to do something. And then when God begins to do it, when he begins to move on our behalf, we don't like necessarily how he's moving. We don't like what he's taking us through. We don't like the way he's taking us. And what we'll do is we'll start to complain. And then it brings us to the last progression. After we become discontented, we start to gripe. And then after we start griping, guess what we start doing? Whining. And nobody likes whiners. I know if I talk to any of y'all, I know personally some of y'all be like, "Woo, Pastor D, I can't stand a whiner." We can't. We don't like, people that's just whine all the time. Nothing is never good for them. Nothing is never right. They can't find any good in anything. They can't be happy for just, one day. You can't find something to rejoice in. Find something to be grateful for. Find something to be thankful for. No matter what the Lord is doing in their life, no matter how he delivers them, no matter how he redeems them, they will whine. And this is what the entire community, when you think about whining is like a high pitch, just annoying noise. And when the whole community of Israel began to complain and utter complaints against Moses and Aaron, I imagine that's what it sounded like to our Heavenly Father. the entire community was, it just sounded like an annoying noise that came from the entire camp. And it disappointed him that they couldn't see what the Lord was doing. And you think about that, when we whine, what that really does. And again, we can't really see how the Lord has blessed us and what he's doing in our lives because we are discontent. And I know there's some people that would argue and say, well, discontentment breeds innovation and creativity. I understand that, but no, I believe innovation and creativity comes out of passion, comes out of purpose, comes out of us, a desire that God placed in us to want to do something better, to make something better, and all of that. But the whole point of this, y'all, I've found myself complaining, going through this COVID experience. There's some people that, prior to this, all they wanted was a day off. They just wanted a day off. Well, some people you got a day off now. And some folk got some permanent days off. And we're complaining. It used to be, I just want a day off. Now it's like, man, when am I going to go back to work? Used to be, man, I just don't, people was complaining about, man, I just need some time to spend with my kids, and, I don't have much time to spend with them because I'm always working, my kids, my family. And now we want the kids to go back to school. I bumped into a guy at the gas station. And this is funny, y'all, but true story. He said to me, he said, man, the worst thing they could have done was shut these schools down, ain't it? Man, these kids need to be in school. And it was challenging him. He got to be with his kids now all day. And that was hard on the brother. But it was funny to me. But my point is, as we're going through this, a lot of people are complaining, and a few months ago, y'all, it was too hot, a few days ago, it was too cold, and it hadn't got just right yet, because we're still complaining. So I want you to, as you go through the week, I want you to be careful to not complain. Our Father knows what he's doing. When this thing is over is when it's going to be over. Ain't nothing we can do about that. Ain't nothing we can do about that. When we return back to work is when we'll return back to work. When we'll be able to not wear masks is when we'll be able to not wear masks. Don't complain about it. Just, put the mask on, protect yourself, and protect other people. I can't say that enough. But whatever you do, don't complain. Our God, our Father, his eye is on the sparrow and he knows exactly what he's doing. And we may not like what is happening, and I can assure you, again, COVID-19 is not God's doing. Let's not get that twisted. But he did allow it because he is sovereign. And we know that we contend with evil on a daily basis. But whatever we go through, y'all, just try not to complain. Let us not utter murmurings and complaints against what is happening. Yeah, we don't like it. Doesn't feel good. But, again, we have to, try to see what our Heavenly Father is doing through all of this. So I want you to be encouraged. Enjoy your week. But above all, just try not to complain through this thing. And we'll get through it momentarily. It'll be all over. And we'll be talking about this. We'll be laughing and sharing what it was like. But I want you to be blessed. Keep looking up. And I want the Lord to richly bless you in everything that you do. Remember, I love you. And I look forward to seeing you when I see you. Have a great week. Bye.